It's so good that we're able to be together like this, because it's really not about a bunch of people getting together to listen to someone talk. It's really about you could say, the assemblage of a collective nervous system that has perhaps a little more capability of experiencing of the divine itself, or we can just say, start with consciousness itself, to experience itself, more of itself, through this collective nervous system. We could say this deeper and clear point of clarity in this collective wholeness of all of the bodies experiencing here now. So it's about, not about individual people. It's not about people. It's about the degree to which consciousness itself can experience itself, and even more of the finer, more deeper divine aspects of itself through this assemblage of this collective nervous system, this, we could say, point of clarity within the total collective nervous system of humanity. Because you see, that's what this is, and what all, groups, all spiritual groups get together like that. That's the real purpose. That's what they're for. It's so that the divine can experience more of itself through the appearance of form and phenomena of this collective nervous system, so it can experience more of the divine reality of itself that appears as everything everywhere. So it's been not about you, not about me, not about us, not about individual people. It's been about consciousness itself, experiencing, having a vehicle like this here, all of us here now, to be able to experience finer and finer degrees of itself, the real divine reality of itself, to the degree it can, through this collective nervous system, this point of clarity in the collective nervous system of society. So this is what it's about. And so you're not here to learn anything. We're not here to teach anything. You're not here to, become a better person, or even to become a more spiritual person. It's about consciousness itself, utilizing these nervous systems to the degree it can to experience more of the fullness of the true reality of itself that appears as the whole creation. So we are fulfilling the purpose of creation just by sitting together in groups like this. So it's a beautiful thing. And the more that we can be simple and innocent and let go and allow and get out of the mind, so that it's not in there, trying to make something out of this, some knowledge, some concepts, some ideas, some beliefs, some opinions, some judgments. That's the mind, but it has no place here because it only detracts from what is real and what is really happening, and from what all of this is about in the first place. So when we sit and listen to this, we enter into this with a clean slate, a clear, open, just openness. And we don't mind what the mind is doing, what it's saying, what the thoughts it has, what judgments and opinions, beliefs, concepts, emotions it has. We don't mind that. We don't really care about that, because what is more important and more fundamental to life itself is that clear, open space of pure awareness itself, which enables all of this to happen and enables the appearance of creation in the first place. And so we get to a more simple and more basic, more a fundamental reality of our being. And listen from there. Allow that to hear itself, speaking to itself and listening to itself through the process of this mechanism here. And when we do that, when we're simple, innocent, open, like that, something other than this becomes as an opportunity, anyway, to become more dominant. And that is that pure clarity of being itself, the pure, clear awareness itself, that enables the vision to see all of this, and enables the mind to think, the feelings to feel, the body to sense, and the whole creation to be and exist. And so when that pure awareness itself is open and it hears itself, what happens is initially more of its stillness arises in the space around us. And the mind right away can sense some silence, some stillness, some greater wholeness in the space all around it, something more than just this and that. And so that being itself, that pure awareness is beginning to experience itself more intimately, all by itself, on its own level. It utilizes the mind-body nervous system to experience itself through. But its depth of its own experience of itself is infinitely vast and just boundless. And so, to whatever degree the being can experience itself through us here at this point of experience is beautiful, because then we are doing our job, and really the purpose of our being here on this earth to begin with, as a channel for that pure consciousness itself to experience itself and to become more familiar with itself, to know itself more deeply, become so intimate with itself that the fullness and boundlessness of itself comes right up onto the surface of life and is experienced everywhere in the surroundings, and even in its process of experiencing itself. It is what creates all of this all around us. And so, when that stillness begins to arise more deeply, more fully in the space around us here, know that is not something foreign, that in fact is the pure essence of your own being. It is your self itself becoming more awake to itself, just rising up to experience itself. So the presence becomes more dominant in space around us. If that present can become so dominant that even the body, mind, and world are not, maybe even insignificant in comparison to that presence of just being itself. So that the mind can't even hold a thought. It can't think. Everything takes place, everything that happens all by itself. But I remain untouched by it all. I remain that field of pure awareness itself in which all of this is happening. And then the happening itself that is taking place through this speaking and listening that is taking place, and through these perceptions that are happening, and the feelings that are, the finer feelings that are arising, then that dynamic of the, just call it the flow of consciousness itself, more conscious of itself, is what deepens its own experience of itself and brings the stillness more still and the aliveness more alive in the whole space around us right now. So the consciousness itself becomes more concentrated upon itself, more focused upon itself, effortlessly, everywhere, in the whole space around us, to the disregarding, completely disregarding the content of what appears to be happening in the space all around us, in the mind, in the emotions, in the perceptions. We don't mind the content of consciousness. It's not about the content of consciousness. It's about consciousness itself, on its own level, experiencing itself more deeply through the mechanism of this process of speaking, listening, perceiving, sensing, emoting. All of this that is happening is the means for consciousness itself to deepen its own experience of itself, to pull itself into itself and out of itself, into the fullness and the wholeness of the total reality of itself, so that we don't have to sit and wonder about the me. Am I awake? Am I enlightened? those questions can't arise when there's no I there, no individual I. And all there is that consciousness itself, deeply engaging with itself at every point within itself, and being totally absorbed by its own experience of itself, because every inch it moves in the direction of knowing itself is closer. It becomes closer and closer to that pure divinity, becomes closer to God. And so this is why we just sit here and we allow the being itself to utilize our senses, to utilize our minds, bodies, to utilize the perceptions of the world around us, to pull itself out of itself and more deeply into the totality of itself, in the appearance of the world and universe that seems to be all over the place, wherever we look. So we don't have to sit within and close the eyes and meditate. We can allow consciousness to meditate through us and experience itself as it really is, right out here on the surface of light, as really everything, everywhere. We know this may be pulling some into the mind a bit, because after all, consciousness itself has to know itself as that unbounded field of stillness and silence before it can know the totality of itself as being all of this. And so we're appealing to the wholeness of consciousness itself, so that it can at least become more awake to this beautiful, beautiful stillness and presence that is here in this space all around us. Because as the consciousness itself experiences itself more clearly and more deeply as being that presence, and rises up to meet itself everywhere. It meets itself everywhere. And says hello to itself. Here I am everywhere. Why have you not been able to see me? I've been in front of you all along. And so I'm giving an opportunity now for that I sense really that has become caught in the body-mind to really disappear and remember itself as being this unbounded space of pure awareness itself, in which all of this is happening. Because this is what I, as that, have been all along. It's what you have been all along. And so we don't need to know anything. We don't need to learn anything. It's not a process of adding something. It's a process of subtracting, and then multiplying our own infinity of what we've been all along. So we just give up. We just give up. Just be so simple and innocent now. To give a chance for that pure being to at least recognize its own unbounded awareness. And when that takes place, you can't miss that. It's not something you have to wonder about. It's completely self-evident to itself. Because there's no mind there to doubt it. And so there it is. Here it is. Here I am. Right now. I am that unbounded field of pure awareness in which this has been happening all along. All of this, everything that has ever happened in your life has been happening in myself, in the self itself. And more than that, everything that has been happening has been the appearance created by the flows of myself experiencing itself and creating the appearance of all of these forms and phenomena around. This is here now. So what a brightening of consciousness itself when it gets out of the body-mind and is able to experience itself initially underlying everything and in which everything is happening, but then more so as everything, permeating everything, pervading everything, and as the flow of the action of everything, the senses perceiving, the feelings feeling, the mind thinking, the body sensing. Everything is all myself. It's all the self itself, all the being itself. And that is from that perspective, it's just a beginning. It's just a beginning. Because the real driver behind that flow of the knowing of consciousness of itself has been the power, the supreme power of pure divinity itself. And as consciousness itself is able to know itself, able to surrender to itself more and more fully through the appearance of these forms and phenomena all around, the more it awakens the memory inherent in its own infinity of being, what it is, what it really is, what this all has been all along. It has been all divinity all along. Not only it is the power that creates all of this, and the power that causes consciousness to be conscious of itself. But it has expressed itself in the appearance of everything, everywhere. We can't miss it. We can't miss it. It's everywhere. It's everything. So we use this assemblage here for the purpose of consciousness itself to become more awake to itself, so that at every point, everywhere in the space all around us here, that being itself can feel itself and know itself more intimately, and at least get some flavor in the direction of something so beautiful and exquisite that begins to get stirred and arise in the conversation of consciousness of itself, which happens through us here, all of us. So we have to get our facts straight. It's not about a bunch of people getting together to hear something, or to teach something, or to learn something, or to become greater. It's about the greatness of consciousness, the supreme greatness of consciousness itself, having a vehicle to experience more of itself through. So this is what is transpiring here now. And this is what it's been about all along. Whatever we've been doing, whatever endeavor, whatever channel of life we've taken, it has always been an, an opening for the divine itself to experience more of itself through that appearance of form. But we're so infatuated with our little body minds and what we've been doing and our relationships and our making a living and all of that, so infatuated with our personal little life that we just didn't know what life was really all about and what this life was for. But we're learning now. We're learning more about it. You know, the more we let go of everything we thought we knew, the more knowledge and truth arrives. It just opens up. And this is what we want. You know, we want to be a beautiful, clear, pure vehicle for that divine reality. It's the reality. It's the reality. It's not a mood. It's not an emotion. It's beyond all moods and emotions. It is the reality of what is. And the more we let go of everything, the more that opens up, and the more beautiful we can say the heart opens. Heart has always been open. It's always been open. It's just that we thought it was an individual, personal heart. But it's always been a universal, cosmic heart. And it's always been open. You know? The heart of being has been beating the pulse of world appearance, you know, all along. And so we just have to get back to the facts, you know, and know the facts, and not get swayed by our doubts and our experiences and our, you know, cleansing reactions that take place. Because lots of, you know, stuff gets purified. There's some purification that takes place, even just while sitting here. But what is taking place so much more beautiful and more pronounced and profound is we're touching a deep, deep element within consciousness itself that is so incredibly beautiful, so exquisite and profound, that its, you know, tender sparkle of purity and clarity can, at least to some degree, create a breeze, just a breeze of fragrance, of divine essence, you know, here that we can feel, can be felt in the space around us. And that, just that little spray of divinity that gets effused from the aliveness of the presence that is here all around us now. That spray of divinity itself is enough to at least get some sense that something beautiful is here. And it's been here all along. And so it doesn't really matter if the body has to move to cleanse all of its shrotas, its chakras, all the stuff. We allow it to do that because something grand is opening up here now. That is happening through this space all around us. No, it's not an individual person that it's happening to. It's utilizing that individual, so-called individual nervous system to experience more of itself through, because it has a greater collective nervous system here, a greater point of clarity, really, to experience more of the at least some greater divine scent of itself that is in this space all around us here, to be experienced and known, just to be uncovered. And so, but this is the thing, it's not, when that being recognizes itself, or when the pure spark of divinity itself recognizes itself in that unbounded infinity of being, then that is what is important. That is what is important, because that is coming closer to, that is the invocation of the true divinity, true pure divinity, that is the essence, cause, source, wholeness of all of this and everything, everywhere. So some little flavor of that to peep through these body minds, if these body minds are open enough, then the divine can, just say Namaste.